I got a very welcome invitation this week. One of the great themes of the pontificate of Pope Francis is that we need to begin to renew our efforts to clear, consistent, and meaningful responses to the presenting questions and the presenting challenges of our time. And I have a very short list of what those presenting questions and challenges are, and one of them is related to abortion. And I want to be the first to acknowledge that a great deal of the dialogue and public declarations around abortion in our lifetimes has not been tremendously helpful in bringing people to a clear and consistent and meaningful understanding of why the church teaches what she teaches. In regard to life, the church has always upheld that life is God's greatest gift. It makes sense because how could we receive any other gift from God if we didn't receive the gift of life first? Secondly, the church has always upheld that life begins with conception and ends with natural death. And among many other questions, this principle underlies the church's teaching on abortion. Lots and lots and lots of very good and complicated questions arise when we begin to grasp the real meaning, the real import of that teaching in our lives. And again, one of them has to do with abortion. And why does the church teach that life begins with conception? And one of the illustrations that I always use is, well, think about an acorn and what happens when we plant an acorn in fertile ground and we give it sufficient water and sufficient sunlight. What happens? Well, every time it becomes an oak tree. And an acorn becoming an oak tree under those circumstances is not a surprise. It's not an accident. It is following the natural design for acorns and its relationship to oak trees. Same thing is true with pregnancy, that when a sperm fertilizes an egg, life begins. And again, if we give it all of the appropriate conditions under which life grows and thrives, it becomes a baby and is born. And there's no event that happens after conception that suddenly causes that baby to be worthy of legal and personal and societal protection. It is a person at the moment of conception. And again, this is according to the very natural form, the very natural design of all human persons. Second very important thing to consider is that there is nothing around the conditions of conception that cause that baby to lose the sacredness of life, and therefore to lose all legal and societal protection. So, however that conception may have occurred, the integrity and the dignity of that person remains the same. We can think back across history about many, many circumstances under which different cultures, different societies at different points in history have tried to make exceptions to that. We think, as Americans, we think back to the time of slavery. And the only way that we could legitimate slavery is by declaring a certain segment of the population to be less than fully human and therefore less than fully deserving of the full protection and equal treatment under the law. Same thing happened in the middle of the 20th century in Germany, that the Nazis had a whole list of people, Jews, Catholics, disabled people. Again, the list goes on and on. But again, under German law, those people had been declared to be less than human, and therefore paved the way for the Holocaust. And so we face the same challenge as Americans right here, right now in the 21st century, and have for the majority of our lifetimes. And the real question is, at what point is there any life that is not worth being lived? And if every life is worth being lived, which by the way is the way God sees it, Again, we go back to the book of wisdom. O Lord, you love all things that are, because what you did not love, you would not have fashioned. So if it is beloved by God, is it not worth every shred of integrity and dignity and respect and protection, not just under civil law, but in the way that we regard one another? And so remember that God is who he says he is. You are who he says you are, and live the life that he created you to live.